Good day, viewers all over the world, wherever you are watching us from. Once again, I welcome you to the program African People and Culture. Today, on the edition of the program, we are going to talk about the level of insecurity, causes, effects, and solution to insecurity in the Igala-Bassa ethnic nationality. For those of you outside the soil of Nigeria that are watching us, Igala-Bassa is a region in the eastern part of Kogi State, Nigeria. And my guest on the program today is not just a security expert, a trained police officer that has served Nigeria meritoriously and to the peak of his service. Sir, what I love doing most of the time, I can simply tell the viewers that you are CP Yaro Abutu, but I will want you to tell them your name yourself, because sometimes you know your name better than me and the other things that are attached to your name.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me. My name is AIG Abutu Yaro, FDC. I'm a fellow of the Defense College Nigeria, and I'm a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police.
Thank you very much. Once again, let me welcome you formally to USTV Africa. There's no need saying today that there's a high level of insecurity across the country. In fact, security challenge has become an international affair. But I want us to limit the discussion today to the Burkina-Faso region. What, from your experience as a trained police officer who has worked, across the country, and you are from the Burkina-Faso axis of the state, what would you say is the root cause of insecurity in the the Igala-Bassa region of the state?
Thank you for that question. The root causes are many. We have the remote and immediate causes of insecurity in the zone you have so described. And that kind of classification is applicable too to other geopolitical environments, very similar. The root causes, the remote and the immediate, could be dissected within the context of this classification. Remote, in the sense that remote causes could be attributable to mere absence of governance, mere absence of governance in the local areas. It's not only peculiar to Igala-Bassa axis alone, is to most parts of the country. Aside from that, the dysfunctionality of the traditional governance system. That dysfunctionality is so severe that it has metamorphosed into many uncomfortable realities of the moment. Another remote cause of the insecurity in the Igala-Bassa area, as is even dominant in other parts of the country too, is the question of uncontrolled migration. In West Africa now, we have a lot of migratory tribes, migratory groups. And this migration, the way it is happening is such that no society is immune to it. A lot of unusual guests are traversing the whole territory, most parts of Nigeria and West Africa in particular. And the remote cause of this is even attributable to the crisis in the Sahel region of West Africa. Well, we know what the Sahel region, that is the region before all those states or those axes of West Africa that you come across before the Sahara deserts. There are a lot of dysfunctionality of in the Sahel, right from Senegal to as far as Eritrea. That axis is Sahel. And there's a lot of discoloration of security, tranquility in the Gulf of Guinea too, which becomes another axis of criminal intrusion into Nigeria. And the Igala-Bassa axis cannot be excluded because it's still part of the corporate Nigeria. Another remote cause of the insecurity we are having there in that our own particular locality too can be in the context too of disorientated mindset. Disorientated mindset, which implies that many groups have this tendency of not having a condensed mindset designed for structured living or for structured career. In the absence of that, when there's a void in a mindset, the tendency for people in a particular location to be amenable to dynamics of insecurity will be high. But if the mindset of people is structured, occupationally, vocationally, career-wise, their vulnerability to criminal waves will have a lesser impact. These are the remote ones.
Just like the saying goes that an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Thank you very much. It's a mindset thing. Then the immediate causes, apart from the remote I've just mentioned, are as many. The trending economic realities of the moment is enough spice to trigger criminality. Another immediate remote cause is the political abuse of the environment. A very toxic and politically abused environment can escalate or accelerate criminality of different dimensions that can surpass human imagination. Another immediate cause of it is lack of employment or inadequate education. We are now going through a trend whereby we are having certification without education.
Certification
without education.
Can you throw more light on that?
Good. Certification without education in this context is taken to mean a lot of young persons parading different papers of different coloration and different epithets in terms of defining qualification. But in terms of contextual framework, in terms of knowledge framework, to attest to that qualification, it becomes a matter of debate. In any environment.
So that attention is given more to the certificate than the knowledge.
Good. And in the absence, when there's a knowledge void, even if you have the paper, you can't be effective in modern society. Arising from that, therefore, a group number of people will be drifted to unproductive isolation. They have paper, but the paper cannot enable them to fend for themselves. And they cannot fend for themselves because they haven't gotten commensurate education to the paper they are holding. That dysfunctionality itself has given rise to a lot of criminality in Igala-Bassa and in many parts of Nigeria at the moment. Because certainly, if people are parading a qualification that is commensurate with the education they have imbibed, the tendency for them to be productively functional will be higher. But if they are parading papers that is of a higher value than the inherent abilities in them intellectually, they will not be able to be useful in the 21st century. Therefore, they will be existing with deep disillusionment that I have paper, I cannot get myself fixed up in any way. That alone is an immediate trigger for criminality. And among the recent situation that has escalated that this one too, is this concept of globalization. Globalization in the sense that as the new generation, the one we call Gen Z now, they see trending scenario in one part of the world, immediately they become part of the trend because of globalization and the instrument of globalization that has made the whole world to be a global village. They see certain things in application in one part of the world or in part of the country. No society is immune. Because of that, they say, look, if this part of the country their people or their persons are having access to this or their social capacity, why not we? So globalization is another trend that has triggered criminality of unheard dimension in Igala-Bassa in recent time. And it's not only in Igala-Bassa, it's a general trend in other societies in Nigeria, in Africa, and in the world. But the most defining moment is, in spite of all these issues as canvassed, how do we navigate through safely, particularly using the matrix of our own society? Because human behavior, criminality, aberrant attitudes, and whatever, it has a lot of intrinsic local conditionalities. There are some societies, things that are for common crime in one society may not be of common crime in another society. That is why I talk about intrinsic characteristics available to us in our environment. How can we harness it as a navigating platform to remediate on these issues of criminality and insecurity in our country, in our land, in our country in particular? I'll come to that in the course of this conversation.
Thank you very much. The devastating effect of insecurity is so high and so deep that everyone and anyone can feel it. But particularly within the Igala-Bassa ethnic nationality, we have had people being displaced in Oganenugu, partly in Omala and some part of Ibaji. How will you, to what extent will you say insecurity have affected the social and economic fabric of this region?
Yeah, certainly, like anywhere in the world, insecurity is very germane to human development. When there's secured environment, there could be secure development. When there's insecure environment, certainly development will be truncated. That's what we are witnessing there. And the factors that have escalated this is not far-fetched. Oganenugu, part of Omala, and so on, there are many dimensions which we are forgetting to articulate. In the whole of Igala area, you will agree with me that Omala axis is like a cosmopolitan environment. Cosmopolitan in the sense that it's an environment that has historically accommodated people of heterogeneous background. Historically. The reason being, by the river Benue bank, before modern civilization, that river Benue you see there, River Niger, they were the highway of human activities. Even before colonialism,
far into the transatlantic slave trade.
Before modern civilization, they were seen as the highway. Goods and services, human activities canvassed across that river. That is why in Omala, Bagana, the cosmopolitan nature of that place, even though the rural setting, is sufficiently mixed with people of Igala, people of Ibaji, people of Bassa, people of Agatu, people of Hausa, people of Angas, people of Nasarawa, people of Nupe, and many others uncountable. It has been the scenario even before colonialism, and it has remained so. It is incumbent for us, who are modern day residents, to realize this historical evolution and know that that environment is a very heterogeneous environment to which the doctrine of governance must reflect the mix, the population mix. The demographic of that environment is unique.
So that provision should be made
to accommodate everybody. We cannot look at that area as indigenous by non-indigenous, except we are looking for anarchy. That place is Igala land, but historically it has accommodated diverse
People of different background.
So, and that is the strength of our heritage. What we need to do is to have a kind of accommodating perspective of everybody. It's not a question of strict adherence to indigenous or aboriginal elements and settler elements. We will begin to emphasize that in this 21st century. My brother, we are not going to have peace there. The people living there, they agree historically on the territory of Igala people. They agree. They are
the Igala people should be ready to
accommodate and recognize this heterogeneity. That's the point I'm making. And all the residents there, they took judicial notice of it, that all of them are guests of Unuife of Ife, or no of Otutubatu or whatever they call.
The Ojogba.
Ojogba of Ife or whatever. We must recognize the fact that these people have been there because that area has been a traditional commercial center even before colonialism because of their location by a major river side, which was a traditional highway. Arising from that, therefore, it is important that when we aggregate the heterogeneous demography in terms of our local administration there, we'll get it right. But when we begin to emphasize strongly, loudly, and to an extent arrogantly, that the settler indigenous dichotomy.
Somebody might not be an Igala, but the great grandparent who are born and live all their life.
You must understand one thing. Migration, assimilation, and acculturation is one of the legacies bequeathed to us by our grandfathers, the Igala people. Our forefathers have always admitted and accommodated people from diverse groups. And
we will give them wives.
Under our culture, if a non-Igala speaking person stays with you for a very long time, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, his offspring automatically become children of the soil. That was the legacy handed over to us by our fathers.
And we can't change it today.
Whoever attempts to change that is taking us back. That's not the legacy. Our culture is a culture that has assimilated many people, many subcultures, all of them professing to be one. And they agree that they are our traditional guests and they have become part of our citizenship. So my advice to our people there is that let us live together. If somebody, under our common law, if somebody has resided in a place for more than 20 years and has given birth there, citizenship right is applicable to that person. If you live in any particular place for 20 years and above, and these are people, their forefathers lived there since 400 years ago, 100 years ago, 300 years ago, they have become our people. And they are not debating or doubting
the ownership of the land with us.
So we must be able to have a very fair sense of judgment in our relationship with others. And mind you, we can't develop without others. All great societies in the world have always been very, very multicultural.
I agree with you. For instance,
the important thing is that
the United States, you have Black Americans, Arab Americans, Indian Americans.
Good. Even in UK, even in Brazil, even in Indonesia. So we cannot be different from others. Let us cultivate the spirit of accommodation, and that is the legacy that our forefathers bequeathed to us. We should not ostracize anybody, and we should not make people to remind people of their past. Once anybody is of peaceful conduct, is on our territory, let us live in peace with all of them and develop together. By so doing, all these different demographies and segments, they will be very interested in contributing positive ideas to our security, to our development, to our transformation. Even when dangers is in the offing or dangers is sensed somewhere, they will articulate it with the local group and let them know. But when we behave as if some other people are irrelevant, some other people are not wanted, which we cannot even extricate them. At the end of the day, they will become psychologically rebellious and disloyal to us, to our system, to our tradition, to our culture, and to our peace. So my advice for that area is that we should be able to integrate everybody and work as one. It's possible, and that was how our forefathers ruled our kingdom.
Thank you, sir. Then, on the part of the government, because protection of life and property is one of the fundamental duties of the government, what role do you think the government at all levels should play in ensuring restoration of security in the Igala-Bassa region?
The role of government in our lives is overwhelming. The role of government in any person's life cannot be underestimated. The same doctrine applies. But the circumstances of our own governance in the last few years, as all of you know, speak volume. The circumstances has demonstrated without doubt that there's minimal government in that part of the country or in that part of the state. Now, are we going to bemoan our faith and keep our hands at akimbo and look helpless and say, okay, since government is supposed to provide security and we are not seeing it, therefore we should be helpless? My answer is no. Security is a community-based phenomenon. Either as family, as clan, as village, as district, as local government, we should have some modicum of security. What is security after all? Security is any measures you take to keep yourself secure. Government has a duty, but it's not a monopoly. And in the absence of effective government, will you fold your arms and expose yourself to the vagaries of nature, of insecurity? No. So my point is that at the local level, we should be organized. At the district level, we should be organized through our traditional instruments. In the absence of effective modern government, the traditional local authority should become the nucleus of security formulations. And our constitutions allow that. Citizens have a right to adopt some measures to safeguard themselves. And what they are doing is supposed to be known to government. But we cannot put our hands at akimbo and say, since this thing is government, we are not getting it, and therefore we remain as well. In Igala-Bassa, you are aware of some individual and group effort. There's one of the effort that's yielding result, the one that is called Kogi East Security Watch or Network. They are doing a yeoman job. Their presence is on the ground in all the local government area. We can equally key in as groups, as individuals, so that Kogi East Security Network can have modicum of operation in our districts, in our villages, in our local government area. That is one layer. Security is supposed to come in different layers. Then at the village level, we are supposed to have village vigilante that forms some layer of security, apart from the one of Kogi East Security Network. And another layer, it could be government owned, which of course in many ways is insufficient or inadequate, but which we hope in the course of time things will take a better shape. So we must adopt some measures of securing ourselves, securing our farms. And one of the ways of doing that, in the first place, we must be sincere to each other. Do you know that some of us who are Igala natives, sometimes we collaborate with external criminals in order to unleash terror on our people? Are you aware of that? Are you equally aware that even some of the kidnapping groups we talk about in Kogi East, 40 to 50% of the elements are our own people working in criminal concert with persons we don't know to make our environment to be unsafe or inconducive? We are aware of these things. Do you know that in the Malaxis we are talking about, there are some members of our own Aboriginal community that often at times goes to arrange mercenaries to come and attack our people. Mercenaries. Some of them will cross the river and Benue, come from Nasarawa, under the guide of some of our own local interest group who have a feeling or who feels that certain things are not in line with their expectation. We can't go on in this way. We need to save ourselves. We need to save our land. And we need to bring a better approach to the way we think now. That is my submission.
All right. On the final note, there's visibly proliferation of arms within the Igala-Bassa region. If you are within the environment, sometimes you see unauthorized people going about with arms, and just like you rightly said, the rate of kidnapping have become so high that people are scared of traveling within. No part of the region is safe for now, but specifically within the Lokoja, Ayiba Road, Ejule, Aloma Road have become a nightmare. What do you think specifically, apart from the effort that is on ground, because the level have increased, the rate have increased, what do you think government should do to curb this armed proliferation, especially civilians that are in possession of arms?
Yeah, I have talked about this armed proliferation on many platforms. The last I discussed it was on NTA, Good Morning Nigeria, and on AIT2, I had opportunity of putting across a lot of perspectives with respect to the trend. On a larger scale, arms proliferation is a threat to modern civilization in the world. It's not only here. If you go to even the Scandinavian countries, the United States, just about 5 days ago,
Donald Trump
was shot at assassination by somebody who was in possession of firearms, a boy of 20.
Assault rifle.
The assault rifle belonged to the boy's father. But he went and illegally took control of the firearms to go and commit attempted assassination or murder. But he was eventually. So the point I'm trying to make is that proliferation of firearms is a threat to modern civilization. But with respect to our particular zone of this country, government efforts at the national level is very evident. But where we are having copious gap of government intervention is at the subnational level and the grassroots level. You know, under our constitution, we have national government, subnational government. There is no measure of effort of curbing proliferation of arms by the national government without concurrent initiative of the states and local that can bring effective results. At the national level, we have a national agency for the control of small and light arms, headed by a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, Johnson Kokumo. All government security agencies are under obligation to mop up arms. And when you follow the media, almost on daily basis, social media or traditional media, you see on the display of criminals arrested with arms.
On all honesty, I give that to Kayode Egbetoku and Eze.
Thank you very much.
Igwe.
Good.
FCT Police. FCT, yes.
Now, it's ongoing, but that is at the national level. There's still much to be done at the subnational government and the local government. It is the convergence of this effort that can bring relief to arms control in Nigeria. And beside that, we've had this unusual phenomenon of most times, even political actors, escalating the proliferation of arms. That is the most unfortunate aspect of it. In most Nigerian community, the time of election, the time of political tussle, at the time of pursuing political interest, a lot of illicit arms find their ways into the communities. Even after the election debacle, the tendency to move this equipment off from the hands of these their so-called followers, that tendency is always non-existent. or weak is part of the problem. Then beside that, there are some communities in Nigeria that having arms is a cultural requirement. There are many of our cultural festivals in many parts of Nigeria that arms have to be used. Like when we are doing Doba, even in Igala, when we are burying a man of achievement, a hunter, or a high chief, or an eminent royal, arms have to be used. So, and you discover too that we have local arms manufacturing system to the extent that some of them, they are so deep in what we call reverse engineering. Reverse engineering implies local blacksmiths or local manufacturers imitating European model of weapons. They manufacture it to near precision. It's ongoing. Now, we find it difficult to even know the number of blacksmiths or local manufacturers exist in most parts of the country. It's still a challenge. So the totality of this and the economic and criminal economic advantage that the misuse of these arms confer on the users makes the moping to be more difficult. Because possession of arms confers on them criminal advantage. And this criminal advantage translates into material and monetary gains. So most times the deliberate policy of moping, as is done in some countries like in Cambodia, it will require arms for cash policy.
Disarmament.
Disarmament, you give them cash, take the arms back so that they can use the cash to look for alternative occupation. But in the absence of this kind of measure, moping up will become a mirage. And that is why I emphasize in my earlier narratives that subnational government and grassroots government involvement is key. If the chairman of a local government or the state people, they come with a policy of disarmament with a financial promise, when you submit your AK-47, I'll give you 300,000, I'll give you 500,000. I can tell you, a good number will be moved up. So all these devices are important. Leaving it to the federal authority alone is not sufficient. And then we don't mop up arms sufficiently. We are endangering all of us. For people in the political arena, of course, some of the arms bearer may be your supporter today. By tomorrow, they will become your adversary. Because as you're all aware, there is no permanent
enemy, but permanent interest.
So some of your loyalists, you give them arms now. If you don't make effort through the instrument of state apparatus to take it, by tomorrow, you become their prey as well. So this phenomenon does not put anybody in any advantage. The only advantage all of us can have is to make conscious efforts at governmental level, at each layer of government, to mop up these arms. But certainly we cannot mop up arms where there's no compensatory scheme. Because most of the people bearing arms illegally, of course, they invested in it. Criminals invest into their own engagement too. So if you want to take it from them, you have to give them some compensatory token. We are serious. So it's work in progress, but I believe that with time we will triumph. With time we are going to see reason. With time we will overcome. It's work in progress.
Thank you very much for your time and all this in-depth analysis. We appreciate your being here with us. And we hope to have you again on another security matters like this. And from my personal, I've over the time followed you on the social media. I've watched your program, and I noticed too that apart from security, you are very vast in Igala traditional history, entrepreneurship, and other things. So because of the benefit to the upcoming generation, because we lack resource person in the area where we come from. So we will appreciate you creating time again to talk to us from your ocean of experience, especially in the area of entrepreneurship. But for now, We thank you very much for being with us, and welcome you to the station of USTV Africa.
Thank you for having me, and reassuring you that I'll be available anytime, any place to add value to whatever you believe I have the capacity to deliver.
Thank you very much. Viewers, here we will conclude on this program today. And like I told you from the beginning of the program, my guest on the program today is a retired police officer, and you had his deep analysis on the causes, effects, and the solution to the problem of insecurity in Igala-Bassa ethnic region. On another edition of the program, again, we hope to have him with us on air, and I'm sure you enjoy watching this program. My name is Onecho John from the station of USTV Africa, the voice of the new Africa. Thank you for being with us.
USTV, Unity Star Television, always ahead.